welcome everyone to another week to the Focus TV Season 8, Episode 16. We're joined by Tavian White, Cardo Dudley Jr., Raymond Lyons, and I am Wilson Tarpe Jr. Now, look, we're going to get straight to it. The Washington Wizards. Ray, I know we've been talking a lot about them because, Wizards Outlook takes no breaks from anything. If you let the good people on the focus know what they've been missing on the Wizards side of things.
Yeah, they were in action 3 times since last Tuesday when we last saw you guys. They beat the Utah Jazz at home on Wednesday. Then on Saturday they started off this lengthy road trip up in Toronto. That one ended in some theatrics. Then on last night, Toronto got the lick back. Yeah, in that game, the Wizards they just got physically dominated, man. The Raptors had 73 rebounds, so that should tell you what the difference in the level of physicality between those two teams were. Yeah, neither team shot the ball very well. As evidenced by the Raptors having the opportunity to get 73 rebounds, but yeah, the offensive glass, man, they had 28 rebounds on offense out of 73. I mean, that you give a team that many more chances to score, and it's going to be a problem, man. And then on top of that, the Wizards couldn't make a shot. They were just out of sorts, and it was the first game of this road trip without the vets, so that played a little bit of a part into it. That nasty third quarter came back. The game was close at halftime. The Raptors came out in the third quarter and dominated. They won that period 34-19, and the Wizards just couldn't regain their footing from there. On top of the physical advantage the Raptors had, like just defensively in general, we already know how pesky they are, but they continue to swarm and continue to overwhelm the Wizards, and harass them into a bad shooting night. Neither team turned the ball over that much, but with the extra possessions that the Raptors were able to get from the Wizards not finishing off defensive possessions, they were just able to maintain their lead. But yeah, man, the Wizards are overall, like we just continue to say at this point in the season, like we know what it is. We just want to kind of see a little bit of development and growth. They're in a kind of a take 2 steps forward and 5 steps back situation. They'll gain a little momentum. They'll put a couple of cohesive games together, and then all the things that have plagued them all season just seem to come back at once. So yeah, man, we'll see how they do. Like I said, they're in the midst of a 7-game road trip. That's not fun. Hopefully they can they can get together. They'll get some bodies back and be able to string a couple wins together.
Yeah, and for you Wizards Outlook folks, we'll be talking to you several more times this week as this road trip continues. Specifically, a little bit later after this taping is complete, as they're just at halftime in Detroit. Two games in Detroit. Get over to the channel so you can catch each and every episode of Wizards Outlook in its full entirety. If you miss it live, if you want to catch it live, all you got to do is make sure you're following the Focus TV on Twitter and our YouTube accounts. Cardell, the college segment, let you kick things off here.
Yeah, man, I'm jumping right into it. Season awards been announced over the last few days for every college conference in the country. I'm gonna touch on a few that have local ties. Obviously, I'm gonna start with the CAA side of things. For the men's basketball postseason awards, all CAA. First team, Tyler Tejada out of Towson, was named Player of the Year as well. Congrats to him. Ante Brozic out of Charleston, senior forward. Kobe Dugan out of Campbell. Abdi Bashir Jr. out of Monmouth. Rashad King Northeastern rounds out the first team. For the second team, all CAA. TK Simpkins out of Elon. John Camden from Delaware. Donovan Newby, UNC Wilmington. Dylan Williamson, local product out of Good Counsel, out of Towson, and Gabe Dorsey out of William & Mary. For the third team, Darren Boyd out of Charleston, CJ Fulton out of Charleston, Kobe McGee out of Drexel, Noah Farrakhan out of Hampton, C.J. Luster out of Stony Brook. For the All-CAA defensive team, Noah Dorsey out of Campbell, Cole Hargrove out of Drexel, Matthew Van Coleman out of Elon, and Colin Metcalf out of Northeastern, and then rounds out with Sean Moore out of UNC Wilmington. For the rookie team, top freshman in the conference, Isaiah Pasha out of Delaware, Justice Stonkus out of Charleston, Daniel Johnson out of Hampton, Colin O'Connor out of Stony Brook, Isaiah Mabing out of William & Mary. As I noted before, Player of the Year was Tyler DeHart out of Towson, Defensive Player of the Year, Nolan Dorsey out of Campbell, Rookie of the Year, Isaiah Pasha out of Delaware, Sixth Man of the Year, Nenda Tark out of Towson, Scholar Athlete of the Year, C.J. Fulton out of Charleston, and Coach of the Year, Pat Skerry out of Towson, led up to the CAA regular season championship and the #1 seed in the tournament. We're going to move to the A10 side of things. GW George Mason, they repped a lot of spots this year. We're going to start off with Player of the Year out of VCU, Max Sugar, well-deserved. Defensive Player of the Year, the guy that you guys are familiar with, Jared Billups out of George Mason. He's also the first player in program history in George Mason's existence to ever win a Defensive Player of the Year. So he's the first of the first. Congrats to him, well-deserved. Rookie of the Year, Deuce Jones out of LaSalle. Most improved player, Reed Bailey out of Davidson. Keep an eye on him. You're going to probably hear his name a lot in the upcoming years. Sixth Man of the Year, Zeb Jackson of VCU. And Coach of the Year, Tony Skinn out of George Mason, well-deserved. Led them to regular season championship, co-regular season championship with VCU. Also, and second seed double bye in the A10 tournament, man. 24 wins this year, 20 last year. He's doing a great service to his alma mater for sure. Hell of a job. For A10 All-Conference first team, Reed Bailey out of Davidson, Jalen Hayes out of George Mason, Xavier Brown out of St. Joseph, Rasheed Fleming out of St. Joseph, Gibson Jimerson out of St. Louis, and Max Sugar out of VCU. A10 second team, Nate Santos out of Dayton, Rafael Castro out of George Washington, Jaden Dawson out of Loyola in Chicago, Eric Moreno second out of St. Joseph, local product out of Bullis, Robbie Avila out of St. Louis, and Joe Bamasil out of VCU. For the third team, Enoch Cheeks out of Dayton, Darius Maddox, another local product with the Mather out of George Mason, Russell Diggins, Massachusetts, Sebastian Thomas, Rhode Island, Melvin Council Jr. of St. Bonaventure, and Isaiah Swope out of St. Louis. For the all-defensive team, obviously Billups being Defensive Player of the Year, Enoch Cheeks out of Dayton, Rafael Castro out of George Washington, Miles Rubin out of Loyola in Chicago, Justice Achigabar, I always butcher his name, out of St. Joseph, and Luke Bamgoye out of VCU, stud freshman. He's going to be a problem in the A10 moving forward. And the all-rookie team, Amir Tang out of Dayton, Christian Jones out of George Washington, Deuce Jones out of LaSalle, Jasir Haskins out of St. Joe's, Luke Bamgoye out of VCU. And we're going to move forward with the Big Ten. I'm going to close it out with the Big Ten side of things. Player of the Year, Braden Smith out of Purdue. Defensive Player of the Year, Baltimore product out of St. Francis, Ace Baldwin Jr., Penn State. Freshman of the Year, another Baltimore product by way of Maryland, Derek Queen. Sixth Man of the Year, Will Riley out of Illinois. Coach of the Year, obviously, kind of an easy pick, Tom Izzo out of Michigan State. Assistant Coach of the Year award, that's a new one. Doug Wolchik out of Michigan State. First team All Big Ten, Derek Queen out of Maryland. Bryce Williams out of Nebraska. Trey Kaufman-Wren out of Purdue. Braden Smith out of Purdue. John Tonje, Wisconsin. Second team, Vladislav Golden out of Michigan. Danny Wolf out of Michigan. Dawson Garcia out of Minnesota. Nick Martinelli out of Northwestern. Bruce Thorne out of Ohio State. Third team, Casper Rush Jakunas out of Illinois. Jacoby Gillespie out of Maryland. Jaden Atkins out of Michigan State. Jace Richardson, that's the son of Jason Richardson, former slam dunk champ, longtime NBA vet, former Michigan State player in his own right out of Michigan State. Nate Biddle out of Oregon. Jackson Showstead out of Oregon. And Tyler Bilodeau out of UCLA. Honorable mention, Umar Ballo out of Indiana. Peyton Sanford out of Iowa, Julian Reese out of Maryland, Ace Baldwin Jr. out of Penn State, Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper both out of Rutgers, and John Blackwell out of Wisconsin. All freshman team, obviously Queen, obviously Richardson, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, of course, and Casper Jakunas out of Illinois. All defensive team. Jaden Atkins out of Michigan State, TJ Baum out of Oregon, Nate Biddle out of Oregon, Hayes Baldwin Jr. Penn State, and Kobe Johnson out of UCLA.
Shout out to the area for having that many people on accolades and reaching those accolades.
Yes, sir.
On to, before I get to Maryland, I'm going to fill in from the league this week. The player of the week he had, let me go ahead and get this up for you guys. It's going to be Cardell mentioned him a little bit earlier, Dylan Williamson. From Towson, as Cardell gave you guys a background when he played, where he played his high school ball. He had a career high 32 points against Drexel in the quarterfinals of the CAA tournament, going 12 and 19 from the floor and 7 and 10 from deep. Okay, what level you're shooting the ball on? That's a ridiculous efficient night. It's going 7 and 10 from the floor. There's not another way. There's not another way to take away from that. Hell of a night for him. Unfortunately for him, they couldn't keep that going. That hot stretch of shooting. Delaware wasn't trying to have all that. Despite that, he led Towson with 23 points, 8 and 17 from the floor, 37 from deep. 32 points in a postseason game is the most since Jamal Gilchrist in 2004, and he did that against William and Mary. Williamson finished the season with the most points on the team, finished second in points per contest, first in minutes played, first in three-point percentage and assists. Lastly, he led the team in field goal percentage. So credit to him and his team. For I'm sure they would have liked their season, their postseason to continue, and have a longer run in the tournament. That said, a hell of a week from a personal standpoint. Again, 7 to 10 from deep is crazy, especially in this 3-point shooting happy era. I don't think anybody can complain too much about that. Moving on to College Park, we told you guys how big it was for Maryland to have that win at home in a regular season finale against Ohio State. They were able to earn a bye. That said, did not make the most of it. Tough week, tough outing. They struggled mightily in a 98-71 loss to Michigan. The Wolverines got out to a crazy start, 27-6 in their first quarter. Credit Maryland for punching back. Maryland responded with a 31-14 second quarter to get right back into the game, but they let go of the rope a bit in the third quarter. The Wolverines were able to win that quarter 28-12 and eventually rebuilt the once 20-point lead that they had. Michigan was led by Jordan Hobbs, Swords, and Olivia Olsen, who scored 23, 22, and 20 points respectively. Maryland was led by Sarah Tabiasu, 25 points. Christina Dawson had 19 points and 4 rebounds. Now the Terps await their fate. Selection Sundays this week, and we'll find out whether they host or not. You know, on the women's side, I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago, top 16 teams have the luxury of hosting the first 2 rounds. One of the things that is working in Maryland's favor, despite a short run in the tournament, they had 8 quad 1 wins. It's tied 6 in the country. That said, while that's great for your resume, some of those losses we talked about earlier this year that they kind of couldn't afford when they were trying to right the ship, I'm sure that's going to reflect. But again, I think maybe if they had a longer run in the postseason tournament, that would have helped quite a bit more. But we'll see what things look like. By the time we talk to you guys next week, we will know where they are seated, which is crazy because that means we're really at that part of the year already, which is nuts. But that's where we're at. So look forward to checking with you guys next week on as far as Maryland women go, to let you guys know where they are in the NCAA tournament. Octavia, it's free agency and stuff in the NFL. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I think we finally got out of the legal tampering period, and free agency officially started, I believe, Monday at noon. And it's been on one, so I'm not that surprised. I feel like the free agency is always on one, especially in the NFL. But I will say that as far as free agent signings within the NFC East, it's been relatively quiet-ish. I mean, there have been some good moves for each team. Nothing earth-shattering for each team. And I'll go in order of how they finished the season. So I'll go ahead and start with my Philadelphia Eagles and get it out the way. They obviously have not done too much except for losing a lot of pieces, which wasn't surprising, knowing that a lot of times Super Bowl champions, a lot of these players, a lot of these coaches are parlaying their way into a bigger payday, which makes sense. There's only really been 4 signings. The Eagles traded for quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson in a trade with the Browns, along with the 2025 fifth-round pick in exchange for quarterback Kenny Pickett, which, of course, the trade will not be official until the start of the New Year League, which is tomorrow. So we'll have a lot more coming out tomorrow, of course. I think it's good for us. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is more alike with Jalen Hurts than Kenny Pickett is. So if there is a time where Jalen is not able to play, it shouldn't change how the offense plays, as you could kind of see when he came out of that. Was it the second game they played against the Commanders? A lot of things changed without the threat of him running. And we know Dorian Thompson-Robinson from being a backup with Cleveland, maybe not as good as some of course, the high top tier running quarterbacks, but he has the dual threat ability, and the people have to stay honest. Probably the biggest thing, Saquon Barkley, I think we talked about last week. He signed a 2-year extension worth $41.2 million in new money with $36 million guaranteed, at signing a $15 million more in incentives. They also re-signed Zach Bond on a 3-year, $51 million deal with $34 million guaranteed, which he was essential to be re-signed. And kind of a surprise today, there was a trade. They acquired offensive guard Kenyon Green in a trade with the Houston Texans for safety CJ Gardner-Johnson in a 2026 6th-rounder. Again, trade won't be official into the new league year. I will say it was kind of surprising, just because there wasn't really a lot of talk about him being traded. And then to know that Jeff Stoutland will have another project in Kenyon Green, who quote unquote hasn't lived up to his billing over the last couple of years. And I think with the threat of also losing Mekhi Becton, they're looking to shore up a position with not using a lot of money. But there were a lot of notable departures for the Philadelphia Eagles. Josh Sweat signed with the Cardinals, or will sign with the Cardinals. A lot of these things have not been completed yet. But Josh Sweat will sign with the Cardinals. Milton Williams will sign with the Patriots. Darius Slay was released, and he's pending to sign with the Steelers. James Bradbury was released. Excuse me. There's somebody else I'm forgetting that was released. Can't think of the other one right now. Oren Burks, a backup linebacker who really stepped in for Nakobe Dean, who got hurt. He's going to sign with the Bengals. So they've lost a lot on the defensive side, not too much on the offensive side yet. But I think what the thought process is that they're banking on their youngins. The young players played a lot this year, and there are still a lot more young players that didn't get an opportunity to play. There's still Keely Ringo, who only played on the special teams. There is still Elias Riggs. There's a lot of people back there that Jalix Hunt, that we can see who can fill in these pieces. And then, of course, it's still early on in free agency. Next, we'll go to the Commanders. Probably their biggest signing would be offensive tackle Laremy Tunsil. He was acquired in a trade with the Texans, along with a 2025 4th-round pick in exchange for a 3rd and 7th-round pick in 2025, and a 2nd and 4th-round pick in 2026. I think it was a big deal for them. As we know, Jaden McDaniels, he definitely has the escapability, but with him being their franchise, they definitely want to shore up that offensive line, which has been a problem for them in the last couple of years. Just with them losing Sam Cosmi at the end of the year showed a lot where they have a lot of deficiencies that they need to shore up. Laremy Tunsil, I think he's 31. He's on the back end, and we know he likes to ask for money. And the Washington Commanders had the money to give to him to try to keep their championship window open. Let's be honest. They were in the NFC Championship, so they're definitely feeling like they're on that path. They did also re-sign Bobby Wagner to a 1-year deal. They re-signed Zach Ertz to a 1-year deal. So they kept a lot of their veteran presence in that aspect. They also, of course, we talked about last week, acquired Deebo Samuel in a trade. But then they also did get another. I mean, I understand it because Adam Peters is now the GM, but enough with the trading, with the 49ers. But it seems like the 49ers are coming over and the Dallas Cowboys are coming over because of Dan Quinn. But here we are. I digress. But defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw agreed to a 3-year, $45 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. With the Commanders losing veteran Jonathan Allen, they definitely needed somebody to shore up the middle. Their run defense was definitely an Achilles heel for them last season. Javon Kinlaw is only 27, so he definitely still has a lot of upside. So, they're seeing what's going to work with that. And, we saw a lot of people flock to Washington last year, and it doesn't look like it's changing. They did lose Jeremy Chin to the Raiders, but they replaced him with safety Will Harris, who was signing a 2-year, $8 million contract with a max value of $10 million. So as we saw, they were very young in the secondary as well. Outside, of course, Marshawn Lattimore, who came over halfway through the season, but was injured for majority of that. So they know they have to shore up the back end as well. So they're still moving pieces. They're doing a lot. They did also re-sign running back Jeremy McNichols to a 1-year deal. So they're still right now seeming like they're a little bit running back by committee with, of course, I don't think we know the outcomes of Austin Eckler yet. And I would assume, I don't know his contract right now. I don't know if he's a free agent or not with Brian Robinson Jr. But Jeremy McNichols had, some good games for them with the rotation of Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. being injured a good amount last year between the two of them. It was like when one was out, the other one was in, and vice versa. So they're on their way. One other thing I thought was pretty interesting is that they actually re-signed a kicker. We know how they've had a merry-go-round with kickers these last couple of years, and it seems like they seem to have landed on Zane Gonzalez so far. He re-signed to a free agent deal. I don't think those particulars have been released yet, but very interesting because we know they go through those kickers like candy. So we'll see how that works out for them. Next, we're going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Probably, again, not a lot of splashy signings right now. The one that we're really waiting on is, of course, Micah Parsons to see what his deal is going to be. They freed up a lot of cap space with restructuring Dak and restructuring CeeDee Lamb to give them some space that they really did not have. I think they said they only had like $20 million at first, but they restructured it, and I think it went up to about $54 million. So they did sign running back Javonte Williams, who agreed to a 1-year, $3 million deal with a max value of $3.5 million. It's a step in the right direction. We know their running back by committee situation didn't really help them that much last year with an aging Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, who is also a free agent. I haven't heard if he signed anywhere yet either. But it's a start. Right now, it's still looking like it could be a running back by committee. But a lot of people are foreshadowing that they will be in the Ashton Genty sweepstakes as the draft gets ready to come up pretty soon. Also, they did sign offensive guard Robert Jones, 1-year deal worth up to $4.7 million with Zach Martin retiring. They have to make sure that they keep some veteran presence on their offensive line. Again, it just seems like the offensive lines within the NFC East outside of the Philadelphia Eagles have always been high priorities for the teams in the NFC East. We know it starts in the trenches on both sides, offensive and defensive. So they're trying to solidify that. And then one that was pretty interesting to me is they re-signed kick returner wide receiver KaVontae Turpin to a 3-year, $18 million deal. He was a restricted free agent. Shout out to him because he's worked his way up from, I think it was an XFL at one point. He was then just primarily a returner, which he still needs to be a returner. Of course, he had an amazing return against that crazy game against the Commanders earlier in the season. But he's definitely started to parlay himself into a solidified wide receiver. They're still going to need wide receiver help, of course. They're going to need more than KaVontae Turpin, and I don't know what's going on with Brandon Cooks to give CeeDee Lamb, some reprieve and have, some opportunities to not always be double teamed. So again, not too much going on so far for them, but all of these things are very, very early in free agency, so there are still some opportunities going forward. Last but not least, the New York Giants. Probably the biggest signing for them is going to be safety Javon Holland, who agreed to a 3-year, $45.3 million deal that includes $30.3 million in guarantees. He's a very young, aggressive safety coming from the Miami Dolphins. It's a very big help to them. They're definitely going to need it. There's reports that he's a good locker room guy. You know, they're going to always look for somebody like that to make sure that they can keep everybody together, especially in the downtowns, because as great as a signing as it is for them, it's not going to move the needle for them too much within the NFC East. They still have a lot more they need to do. It's very interesting that right now that the only quarterback that is signed to the New York Giants is Tommy DeVito, who signed a 1-year deal. We know that there are rumors that they are in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. So who knows what's going to happen? Daniel Jones actually signed with the Colts. So he's officially, even though we know it's been official, but he is completely gone, and he's looking to compete with Anthony Richardson out there in Indianapolis. So that's going to be interesting. Not too much else. They did get edge Chauncey Golston, who agreed to a 3-year, $19.5 million deal. Of course, they're always working on the offensive line with offensive tackle James Hudson, who agreed to a 2-year, $12 million deal with a max value of $16 million. So yeah, not too much going on. They did also sign cornerback Paulson Adebo to a 3-year, $18 million contract, which includes $36 million fully guaranteed. That doesn't sound right, but I'll look at it again. So yeah, they're working on their defense. You know, of course, the primary position that they're looking to fill is going to be that quarterback position. All the teams have, you know, things that they need to work and fulfill and get better with in the off season. We're still very, very early. You know, we still have, of course, the draft, and we have a lot more to go in free agency. When a lot of these quarterback dominoes start to happen, starting with whatever happens with Aaron Rodgers and where he ends up. And then we'll see what's going to happen. As we know, in New York, they're coaching for their jobs and they are GMing for their jobs. So it's very interesting. There are a lot more interesting moves outside of the NFC East, and I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But very, you know, not too much going on so far in free agency for the NFC East. But it's, you never know. It's crazy. It's free agency frenzy, as they like to say. So I am looking forward to more notable things happening.
Yeah, it's the early stages, and everybody's fan base needs to take a deep breath. Deep breath, man. It's not the NBA. You end up hitting free agency in the NFL. It's not always a good thing. Put out there. That said, Cardell, floor is yours. Rapid fire, take it or leak it, take it or leave it, wherever you want to start it.
Yeah, we're gonna start on the sad note with rapid fire, man. Former NBA player, billionaire, entrepreneur, Junior Bridgman died today. Unfortunately, former sixth man in the NBA. Rose to prominence, uses obviously his basketball ability and intellect and earnings from his network from his playing days to build one of the most successful post-playing business careers of any professional athlete ever. He was recently a minority owner of the Milwaukee Bucks just last year, the same team he once played. He died after what appears to be a heart attack. Bridgman was 71. He was in Louisville for an event, a fundraising luncheon, and multiple television cameras caught him grabbing his chest. Said he expressed that he believed he was having a heart attack, and he fell out. And obviously, emergency medical personnel was called, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. Adam Silver released a statement, quote, "I am devastated to learn of the sudden passing of Junior Bridgman. Junior was the ultimate entrepreneur who built on his impactful 12-year NBA career by becoming a highly respected and successful business leader. He served as a mentor to generations of NBA players and athletes across sports who were eager to learn from him about what it takes to thrive in the business world. Jr. was a dedicated member of the NBA family for 50 years. Most recently as a minority owner of the Milwaukee Bucks and invested in NBA Africa, and as a player who set the standard for representing the league and our game with class and dignity. We express our heartfelt condolences to Jr.'s wife, Doris, their children, Eden, Justin, and Ryan, the Bucks organization, and his many friends and admirers in the basketball community. A native of East Chicago, Indiana. He started on the 71 Washington High School Senators 29-0 state championship team. Bridgman became an All-American for the Louisville Cardinals. They reached the Final Four in 1975. The Lakers drafted the 6'5" wing, 8th overall in the 75 draft, and traded him to Milwaukee as a part of a blockbuster deal for Bucks star Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Bergeron played 12 years in the NBA, as I stated before, 10 of them with the Bucks and 2 with the Clippers. He averaged 13.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 2.4 assists in 25 minutes per game over his career, during which he established himself as one of the game's best six men. He also served as president of the National Basketball Players Association from 85 to 88. Bergeron made about just under $3 million in his NBA career, and never more than $350,000 in the season. After his career, he built a fast food empire at its peak, totaled more than 450 restaurants nationwide. He became a Coca-Cola bottling distributor with territories across 3 states and to Canada. He bought Ebony and Jet magazines. He invested in NBA Africa. And in September, just last year, he purchased a 10% stake in the Bucks. And in February, Forbes reported that Bergeron's net worth has surpassed $1.4 billion. Octavia, we're going to touch on you. Obviously, former NBA player, follow his career. Obviously studying the OGs and the history of the game. He always popped up, especially, you playing with greats with like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and all that. He pretty much became the standard for what we see now. All the players becoming businessmen and whatnot. Just what are your thoughts on his passing, his impact on not just the game, but just on, let's keep it real, us, young black entrepreneurs, young black athletes that come up, and when the ball stops bouncing or whatever, you stop running or you stop boxing or whatever, you can have a second career and be even more successful in the business world and still impact generations to come.
Yeah, I think you said it. To be honest, I didn't know that this happened. I missed this earlier today, so it was kind of shocking when you said it. But yeah, it's first of all, it's completely sad. Definitely, as I keep saying, the older that we get, the more and more, of course, that we are losing people that were pioneers of the game, and people sometimes take for granted their impact on what the game was on and off the court. With all the accolades that you just spoke about in regards to him, like you said, he was the blueprint. To think about it, and you think about the NBA nowadays, $350,000 is a drop in a hat to most of them. A lot of them probably get fined that in a season, to think about it, and to think that he, that's what his earnings was during his time playing, and to parlay all of that into a businessman afterwards, and being a black businessman at that in those day and ages. And to build up all these successful businesses, and to continuously also give back to the community, like you said, investing in NBA Africa, we know, which is a big initiative for a lot of former players. So it's just definitely disheartening to hear, especially thinking, like you said, just recently he became a minority owner in the Bucks, getting back into the big leagues as far as the NBA and being an owner. There's not a lot of black owners in the league. We know that, minority or majority, regardless of how you want to look at it. So it's definitely an accolade to appreciate that somebody was able to do that. And it's so crazy. Like 71 is young. Like, let's be real. Like, my dad is 70. So, to see that, and then for it to be, like you said, as it sounds as public as it was, it's definitely disheartening, that it happened. And much prayers to his family, especially because I can't imagine, just one day waking up thinking everything is fine, and then the next thing they're gone. So a lot of love and respect to his family, and condolences to him and to the whole NBA, everybody he's touched as a player and as a business owner.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's definitely just super sad. Like Octavia said, 71 is not old. He should have been around for a little bit longer. But for him, when I think about him, I think Like it's rare that when somebody had a extensive career as he had in the NBA, the first thing you think about is not basketball. Um, and it's not because he didn't have a good career, but that's just a testament to what he was able to build, after the ball stopped bouncing. Um, and I hate to beat a dead horse, and I'm not saying this to be adversarial or anything like that, but they the praise that the current players get for what they do outside of the sport, like you said, he's the blueprint of that. They What I will commend them for is they have found a way to do it while they're still playing, which is hugely beneficial. But without his influence and his example, and amongst other players, who knows if that ever even becomes something that's front of mind for athletes. So yeah, man, I feel like that's definitely where his biggest footprint is. And when you when you was talking about the salary, like that's nuts. He $350,000. I mean, it's dudes on two ways making that, man. Like, and when he was able to parlay, after his playing career to be a billionaire, like that just speaks to his business acumen and his foresight to be able to be that successful. But yeah, man, it's a tremendous loss. Again, whenever somebody like this passes away, it's definitely unfortunate. But I hope that encourages people to find out, who he is and what he was about if they weren't already aware. Like I didn't become aware of him until I was in my 20s. But then, when I started to research and figure out what he accomplished, it was definitely inspiring, man, because, Cardell, like you said, a lot of us growing up think about only the physical aspect of being an athlete. But yeah, man, that don't last long. Even if you're lucky enough to make the pros, the average NBA career is what, 5-6 years. So you still got a lot of living to do after that. So yeah, man, just thankful for his example and what and inspiration he was able to be throughout his life.
Wilson.
Yeah, as those two said, it's a big loss, and that's a hell of an example for what he did off the court. Considering he wasn't in the league during the time when they were printing money, just to be printing money, he dwarfed his. Like there had to be times during his business career, he was doubling what he made during his playing career in its entirety. Again, like the business acumen. Go to school. It's just amazing what he was able to accomplish. And as you guys, we always talk about, is another one of those things where it makes no sense because we're in the information age. People have so much access to find out anything about almost anyone in the past, and just don't do it until someone passes. Unfortunately, also definitely missed the, was in high school, like the days on NBA TV where they just played. Like I need those back. Like I was talking to somebody the other day. I was just laughing because I think on Amazon Prime they got old school channels from cartoons when was young. Like I need just someone to put the old NBA TV feed up and just let it play on a loop, untouched, unbothered, because then some of these things wouldn't be new. We live in this time where everybody likes to say whatever's happened, it's the newest and craziest thing. Nah, this is just the current version of something we've seen before. Not that, not to say but no one's original, but just saying, again, we're watching, I think Ray just said, we're watching people thrive on the business side of it while they're playing. What he did is far more impressive. Getting $350K and you turn that into $1 billion. That's crazy. That's absurd. And then obviously from the philanthropic standpoint, I just think it's one of those those bulletproof type examples. And I hope people take a chance look him up, do some research, look at everything he did, both on and off the court, get a deeper appreciation for it. It just sucks. It always has to happen after someone passes, because there's a lot of great people from our community that have done a lot across not only sports, just in general, that we do not take advantage of using all this wonderful technology and learning about all these brilliant people.
Yeah, for me, it's what was it, the Nas song "Made You Look"? At the end, he talked about being a thoroughbred. That's what he was, and that's something. When I learned about him in high school, again, you brought up NBA TV, Wilson. I recorded literally. I got tapes, dozens of tapes and VHS tapes of me recording all those games. So that's why when they try to dog out the OGs and the legends and pioneers of the game, like a Junior Bridgman, guys like that, I'm the first one to be like, nah, y'all tripping. Y'all wrong. And I could tell you didn't watch, because if you did, you wouldn't be saying those things. And he became, even personally, what I wanted to become. Like, I'm going to use basketball to take me places that I otherwise wouldn't have been, not, coming from a lot of affluence and wealth and stuff like that. It's going to open doors for me. But when I get in those doors, I'm going to try to, while I'm still focused on my basketball, utilize all my other talents to make myself even stronger and build up a strong network that not only benefit me, but those around me in my community, because that's what the goal is. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's why, it's all, every coach from when you're a little kid preaches, use basketball, don't let basketball use you. He used the hell out of basketball. And he's really the blueprint. He became the mentor for the Magics, the Jordans, and you got the Stephs, like what Steph is doing right now, KDs and all. Like it showed it could be done on a high level. And the thing is, he was doing it. I wouldn't even say he was doing it quiet. It just wasn't a lot of media attention, because a lot of people, he wasn't iconic basketball player, so to speak, like one of them rare, like a Magic or somebody like that. But he was a very good NBA player that got there before Magic and everybody else did. He set the foundation, and he's somebody to learn from. I always say the OGs got the answers to the test, and it's unfortunate why so many people trying to slander OGs. Not like this is the fear of mine. Like, look, he's gone. You can't get that game no more. You know what I mean? So while you trashing people and all that, especially the youngest in the league who trashing, sit down, put your ego to the side, and understand. Let me go holler at these people while I can, and get this information, because you don't know how much time you have. You see what I'm saying? And now that he's gone, that's a wealth of knowledge that you just don't have. Like, no disrespect, the Stephs, the KDs, and LeBrons, they in a different tax bracket where they can create so many opportunities and stuff like that. Their status as an athlete will get them in rooms and stuff that most athletes can't. Then again, they also have the financial ability to walk in those rooms and be ready to go anytime they want. Junior Bridgman can bridge the gap for guys like in the G League, guys overseas, guys like that, man, I only got a certain amount of money. How can I really make these moves and get in the business world and do this and elevate it? That's the guy I should talk to. Well, this is what I did. I took my earnings. Look, over 12 years, I didn't even make a full $3 million. So this is what I XYZ, boom, boom, boom. Look at this, look at that. Invest in this. Look at your investments. Check out your stocks. If you need one, get an account. All the little details. But you can't even get there because now it's gone. You see what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate, man. Because these are the OGs. Like I want to run into and just ask questions. Just ask questions and just shut up and listen. They'll just school me. You see what I'm saying? Now won't get the chance. On top of him being a very good NBA player, like you said, those were the best times. Like I would literally, when I wasn't in school on the weekend, if I had time, before I would go hoop or in between practice or something like that, I would literally just watch NBA TV, just watch the old school players and just sit there and just full games. Like if they were playing today, they're playing at that time. Watch the Big O, watch Cousy, watch Russell, watch Wilt, Jerry West, and all those guys, and you pick up game, and you just be like, okay, all right, I see why they were good. I see why they were effective. Boom, I can steal that. Let me steal that. I see where Isaiah Thomas get that from. I see, or Jordan, he just an extension of Connie Hawkins, man. That's where that. Okay, I see where it's a trickle down effect. You see what I'm saying? So it's just sad, man. It's just sad that publicly he went out like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just he looked to be in good shape, especially for his age, man. It's just unfortunate, man. Because we actually need a lot more Junior Bridgmans for our community. Because we're in dire need, especially with the economic situation going on, what was impacting so many families, man. So, rest in peace, and definitely condolences to his family for sure, and the NBA family as well. All right, we're gonna get over to a topic that we definitely need to touch on. LeBron James and Stephen A. LeBron James wrote up on Stephen A. At the game. So I'm gonna stop effing with him. Basically, stop talking about Bronny, but stronger. A lot of dialogue about it. A lot of viewpoints and opinions. Wanted to ask you guys, and have a real discussion on just the scene overall, man. I'm gonna go last, but I'm gonna start with you, Ray. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna try to be brief. But it's first of all, my first thing is my issue is people have not been honest about this entire situation from jump. Even predating Bronny even getting into the NBA. LeBron's been planting these seeds since Bronny was in 9th grade. I want to play with my son. Like, it's calculated. Let's just be honest. It's calculated. Like, this is we know LeBron is not opposed to orchestrating things. So, dude, you manufactured this situation, and now it's here, and this is the bad side of it, if you want to call it that. LeBron has weaponized the media throughout his career in his favor, and the media's hitting back. How do you feel about what Stephen A. said? Of course, he's going to sensationalize things. We know who he is at this point. We know what he's turned into as a TV personality. If you want to take offense to that as a parent, that's fine. But you stepping to the side in the middle of a timeout and trying to be physically imposing to a 60-year-old man, like, what did he think was going to happen? Like, did he think Stephen A. was going to not talk about it? No, he's not. He's going to. His mouthpiece is his most valuable weapon, and he's continued to use it. And he's on a press run about it right now. Like, so, nothing was accomplished. It doesn't hide the fact that, people still feel like your son is not an NBA caliber player, and they're going to continue to talk about it until he proves otherwise. We don't have to be here. That's my biggest thing about all of this. We don't have to be here, man. He was drafted after not even remotely proving he could be effective at the college level. And then people bring up, what did you expect him to do? He had the heart situation and so on and so forth. Well, why didn't you medically reassure, prep yourself, have a full healthy season in college to see where your game is, and then go to the draft? Or even take another year in college anyway. Like, there was absolutely no reason to be one and done. So the kid's in a situation because of people making decisions other than himself. And now we got to a place where a player has rolled up on a TV personality mid-game to do what exactly? To say, stop messing with my son? Okay, cool. You got it off your chest. And now he's continuing to talk about the subject. So, and he's not the only one that's talking about the subject. So what what are you going to do? How do you plan to stop this? If your goal is for people not to talk about your son, maybe he shouldn't be here. Because once you become a professional athlete, people have a right to talk about you, talk about your performance and whatever else. Um, Also, I mean, it wasn't a problem when you said your high school age son was a player rolled up to you and said, "Who you talking about?" Like, so what are we doing here? But I mean, it's just a whole lot of hoopla. People are doing way too much with this. Um, they treating this man like he just initiated the Montgomery bus boycott or something. Like it, man. And it's funny how when somebody says something about Bronny, they're corny and all this stuff. But when Russell Westbrook said, "Hey, man, don't play on my name with that Westbrook stuff," people saying stuff to my kids at school. Oh, he was soft and he couldn't be handled being called a name and all this other stuff. Why is it okay for people to ridicule him and his children, but somebody can't say Bronny James isn't performing well in the NBA, which he's not? And again, I don't want to bring it here, but I'm going to. People have no problem denigrating Michael Jordan as a father and a person in general. Is that all that's okay? All that is okay. When Mike's sons got cooked by Eric Gordon, that was funny. All that was funny, right? It was funny. It was jokes. Oh, Mike a bad father because his kids can't hoop. All that was funny. But now it's okay for a dude to throw a hissy fit in the middle of a game because somebody spoke some truth. Bronny is not a good NBA player. It is what it is. He's young. He's got time to develop. But as it stands now, I mean, the result speaks for themselves. So if they want to hold this up as him being a parent, then so be it. It's not going to change anything. Stephen A is going to continue to say what he's going to say. And now he's flipped it and gone directly at LeBron now. So nothing was accomplished. You confronting him didn't magically make your son good. So I don't know what he wants to do with this. But yeah, man, it's a mess of his own making, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, man, I can go on, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off before it turns into something else.
Wilson.
Oh man, I was hoping Octavius' name was getting called. Yeah, man. Like most things that he does, it just came across forced, staged, premeditated, and just unserious. There was just no need for any of it. I feel like it was one of those things where somebody did something for them through the gaze, under the disguise of it being for somebody else, and didn't think about the consequences that come with it. I think what's it called? The clip we've been talking in the group chat or whatever. I didn't realize it was in the third quarter, thought it was the fourth quarter, whatever. Whenever he chose to do it. Why then? Why now? We know your campaign has no issue getting the message across behind the scenes when you want something shared or what have you. Why wasn't this one of those things for me? Two, it's just a horrible precedent where I do understand, we all remember that clip back in the day with Jim Rome and things like that. I don't think this was anywhere near that place. Like that, to me, was justified. This, again, I'm not gonna use the first word that comes to mind. This just wasn't that. And I still don't see the reasoning for it. Like, he's a professional player. He's here. There's a couple missteps that have happened along the way. He started the league, up on the big team, ended up in the G League. I think earlier in the season, he, however it was perceived, he wasn't allowed to go play the away games with the G League team. And that gave people room to perceive that however they so chose. Both, his teammates and people on the outside. The G League highlights, they're great. We know the G League is. The numbers in the NBA, what Ray's alluded to, they are what they are. But if it's just basketball, sir, this is part of what comes with the territory. You know this. You've been around. People love screaming out year 20, year 21. You know what it is. And if it's about the basketball, I don't see any reason for any of this. See any reason for any of it. And again, it rubbed me the wrong way because I was just like, why? Why one, and then two, why like this? Because you know better. And the reason I guess it bothered me with the why like that was you try to embarrass him and son him intentionally when you didn't have to do any of that. We know your camp has no issues getting in touch with whoever to share whatever. Can I have this conversation in the hallway somewhere? Like, it's not like it was on site. As soon as you saw him, it was the third quarter. But, like I said, it wasn't what it was for me. Don't have too high of opinion on. It's one of the reasons it's been a struggle for me to kind of get on board with everything that he does. Very good basketball player. Some of these types of things that what keeps me from fully getting on board is every time I want to get on board, it makes it easy to be like, nah, I can't do it. This is why. It's always something that's a little too phony. What's it called? Just like it's always some type of a plot, bro. Like, just why?
Narrative.
Yeah, just why? And it's hard for me to believe, again, like, Steve A said, I know your camp can reach that man. It didn't have to be done publicly like that. And again, we all know what it did because virally, your camp, your fans, subjects, what have you, ran wild with it because there's no, there's no brain. It's just a hive mind. They just go with stuff. And this was just sad. As Ray said, I think that's the best place for me to leave it. Just sad.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, number one, we know he can get in contact with Stephen A. Smith. I mean, we've seen the fact that his agent, Rich Paul, and his closest friend has been on Stephen A. Smith's podcast before. So, I mean, even outside of that, we all knew that he can get in contact with it. To me, like you guys have already talked about, it is kind of phony and fake because, one, we're basically through the entire season at this point. So if it was that big of a deal, I'm sure you've seen Stephen A. multiple times at this point. He boasts and brags about how much he loves to be in LA. So we can start there. I did think it was a little phony and fake, like, to do that. But it's like, I tried to take myself out of it because I'm not a parent. So I don't know how that territorial aspect can feel at a certain time. But
hold on, I'll tell you. Me and Ray are. And I think I speak for Ray on this. It was bullshit.
Okay.
He's not attacking Bronny. He's stating what a lot of people are saying. He's not ready. And you're forcing him into a situation. So that's nothing for a parent to get mad at. A real parent be like, hey, boy. Who?
Yeah. I don't know what happens to my camera, but it'll come back on. So yeah, I don't understand that aspect of it. It just seems weird. And honestly, granted, I have not heard every single thing that Stephen A. Smith has said about Bronny, but the things that I have heard didn't sound crazy. Like, I remember before Bronny even was close to coming into the league or even getting ready to go to college, like, he purposely said, I don't talk about Bronny. I've never been to his games. I try to stay as far away from it as I can. Now, of course, now he's an NBA player. It has to be talked about. But just like you said, Stephen A. is not the only one who said anything. There have been other people who have publicly made statements as well. I don't see him rolling up on Jaylen Brown having a situation because Jaylen Brown definitely came out and said he didn't think Bronny was ready to be in the league. And I don't think anybody has said anything crazy about him publicly, like public figures. Of course, you're going to have your trolls and stuff that are on what's the word? Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. So I understand that aspect of it, but it was just real extra to me because, like y'all all said, like y'all two grown ass men, like Braun's 40 plus, Stephen A 60 plus. And I do feel like, granted, like Stephen A is a little bit out there, of course, as we know, we talk about being a TV personality and whatnot. But yeah, like there's multiple times where you could have had a conversation with him, like you guys said, in a private area, not make this a bigger deal than what it is. Because at the end of the day, while you do feel like you're protecting Bronny to a certain degree, you're also putting more scrutiny on him because now people have more things to say about him. Like, oh, look, Bron's, his dad had to come to his defense. Who knows how Bronny feels about it in this entire situation as well. So I just thought it was very crass and very like, I don't understand the point of it. Like, I didn't see it live. I heard the reports about it the next day. It just seemed kind of weak, to be fair. Like I said, he's a public figure at this point, and we know the different scenarios that have come in regards to him being in the league and him getting where he is, however you want to call it, nepotism or not, whatever it is. But it's something that you also had a very huge hand in creating as well. So it just was kind of weak to me. But again, like Wilson said, it doesn't surprise me. And these are some of the reasons why you can't fully get behind him at a certain time. Like, kudos, great basketball player, top two, number two. But it was just kind of weak.
Yeah, I'm gonna just wrap it up with like I agree with y'all. It was very weak. To me, it was definitely orchestrated because he did that with the hopes of social media attacking Stephen A. nonstop, kind of just hazing him, bullying him online because of it. Ever since the Bronny stuff came to be, as far as him being in position to get drafted, and Bron saying, if you draft him, I'll play with you, all that good stuff. Everyone has been sensitive and compassionate with the situation when it comes to Bronny because he's a youngin'. They understand he's been put in the spotlight cast by his father. He didn't necessarily ask for it. He may have asked to be an NBA player, maybe. We don't know. But he didn't ask for the spotlight to be on him, like this. Because regardless, he's named after him, and he's his son. So he's going to share the same spotlight that his father shared, regardless if he deserves it or if he wants it or not. The difference is his father was dealing with it. His father dealt with it organically, so he was able to adjust and get used to it. It was a different ball game for Bronny because he's cast away in college. All right, you over there developing, okay. Now you in the big boy league. The spotlight is different, especially when you wear that Lakers jersey. That even amplifies it even more. It was weak in many regards because, one, when you put on an NBA uniform, you're subjected to everything that the other NBA players are subjected to. You are no different. If you play like trash, he won't say you play like trash. You got to deal with it. And then it's up to you as a professional to figure out how not to play like trash moving forward. And then when you balling, be fair and give him his props. I feel like he used the Bronny thing to unleash some anger he personally has towards Stephen A. on him in that situation. You could have took a man-to-man. A real professional would have did that. Because at the end of the day, what were you going to do? This swing on him? No, you're not. We know you're not. Because you would be playing for free. Because Stephen A. would have all the top lawyers in the country, in the world, lined up to represent him because they know they're going to get the biggest payday and the easiest payday of their life. And Stephen A. would be like, ESPN, I'm out. I'm worth $1 billion now. I ain't working no more. And you would be hooping for free. Because and people on social media said they would do that. Like, I would have egged them on, hit me, knock me the hell out. Yes, that mansion's mine, all that's mine. You working for me. Where Nike at? Tell Phil Knight I'm coming. Send a private jet. People was joking about that. So we know you're not going to do nothing like that. And then you also set a bad precedent because now other players and athletes think they're going to be able to roll up on certain media types and stuff and think it's okay, and that's not going to be okay. It just, like I said, man, it's just more of what makes people not want to mess with him, and he's too great of a player to not want to mess with because it's this phony fake stuff, man. That's what he don't realize. He's so busy trying to narrate everything to erase history, to diminish Jordan, diminish all that stuff, diminish everything that he feels gets in the way of this need to just be on top of everything. It just turns people off. Let's just call it what it is, and it's a turn off. Like, bro, I can't even. I don't even want to watch you. Like, I gotta detach from you so I can just enjoy basketball. I don't want to hear 24/7 news cycle on LeBron and GOAT debates and what the Lakers gonna do, and just it gets old, man. It's just old, especially for those of us that was knowledgeable, and you can't narrate your stuff out of things we know are true because we were around watching all this basketball growing up. We know what's real. We know what happened. We know about LeBron's failures and stuff. The kids who were growing up when he came in may not act like they don't remember, but we do. Making all these excuses, having your agent be your mouthpiece all the time. Like, what he's saying is going to ignore truth. Like, it's just going to erase history. It's old, and it's just he should be above that. He should be beyond that. You in your 21st season, man. Like, instead, you should have been let LeBron. He's gonna have to deal with this because someday you're going to be gone, and then guess what's going to happen? He's going to feel the full wrath of what the NBA is all about. And if you keep trying to insulate him, keep a bubble around him, he's not going to be ready for it. And the other thing, I heard this point made by Ryan Clark, and he made a great point. We've never seen you roll up on Skip Bayless. We've never seen you roll up on these other reporters. Why'd you do it to Stephen A? And Stephen A, from everything, unless there's something going on behind the scenes, from what I've seen when he talk about Bronny, he is very careful and respectful of Bronny because he's a young man. And for all the things you may not like about Stephen A, he is not that cruel and that evil where he's just going to go on a youngin just to go on him. Rather, whether he got beef with LeBron or whoever or whatnot, no one's going to do that because he has kids. He's sensitive about that. It's just things. It's a certain code when you got kids. Even if you don't got kids, just a certain code that if you are a genuine human being, I'm not going to cross that line with someone younger than me unless they really asking for it. And Bronny's not asking for it. This kid ain't did nothing. And here's the thing. He works hard. Like, I saw him when he came to DC. He was the first one out there pregame, working out with all the players, doing this regimen. Pops came out there, was working. Pops got done. And he was literally the last one up. Like, he literally left like a couple minutes before the teams came back out to warm up fully. So when you hear reports about him being the first one and your last one, like, the kid is working hard. He's trying to figure it out. He really is. So I can't knock that about it. That's why, I never even brought him up. I'm not even dealing with that. This is the stuff his father put him through. If he didn't let Bronny just earn his way organically, none of this would be a problem. I'm tired of people using the excuse, man, he was the 55th pick. Y'all don't talk about the other 55th pick. Well, the other 55th pick don't have LeBron James as their father, and their parents are not out here saying, hey, he's better than half the league right now. It's lightweight funny, or whatever you said in that tweet. So now when you say stuff like that, you put a bullseye on his back. On top of the G League stuff, he ain't playing that away games. Why? Because you want to control everything. You want to make sure he's safe to develop. And you holding him back from dealing with that real bump, that real heat on the road, the ridicule, the stuff that toughens you up and makes you a player. So the thing is, everyone's trying to figure, is it really about Bronny or is it about you? In some quest to just have something to add to the resume, I guess it's your chase of passing Jordan or something like that, because it's really not going to help your career. Your career is set. You're first ball of the Hall of Fame. You're one of the best to ever do it. So what is it really helping? Because if it was really about Bronny, you will understand you're not ready for the league. Stay in college and continue to develop. League ain't going nowhere. Do that. But it was this push. I got to play with my son. I got to play with my son. Then I'm good. You did that. You knocked that out the park. So what is all this, man? And then this is my last point. When he gets on the court, if us as media people, and I laid it because he hasn't done nothing to really even talk about. But if you don't talk about him, then other players gonna be looking at you like, how come you ain't had that same energy for Bronny? Now you getting on me and stuff. Because what people don't understand, all his blind witnesses, his coach that follow LeBron, think everything LeBron does is correct. Everybody in the league, they have parents. And I'm sure along the way, them players have been criticized in high school, college, and the league at some point. You don't hear all their parents jumping out there like, don't talk about my baby like that. Don't talk about them like that. It comes with it. As long as it ain't too personal or nasty or just where it's just always vitriol, you should be able to deal. You got to be able to deal with it. It is what it is. It is what it is. And like Octavia, she played at Allentown, all that. We grew up in an environment where it was standing room only. Everybody played at Allentown. It was standing room only. We got criticized as little damn kids. If we miss a layups, miss a defense, we hearing it. We hearing it. Friends in the crowd, parents, take that boy out. We hearing it.
Parents trying to fight me.
Come on, man. We
I
hearing it.
ain't even lying.
That shit wasn't for the weak. So we got it early. So when we got older, it was just like, oh, really? You talk? Come on, bro. This like I've been dealing with this since I was elementary school. Seriously. So you gotta deal with that. It's sports, bro. It's sports, and he knows that. So all that, man, and to me, doing that just really made him look silly, and it backfired because ain't no logical people are not rolling with it. And now everybody looking at him with the side eye. Now all of a sudden, injury, you could tell. I'm trying really. To me, I'm just taking time from all this. Come on, man. And then you say the thing with Richard Jefferson before the Celtics game, and it's just like, see, that's what we talking about. That's why you can't even rock with him like that. Like, rock with game, yeah, he's talented. But a lot of things have been controlled and positioned for him to succeed because he has that power. And that's just not right, man. At some point, people are got to be truthful. Our job as media is to be objective and truthful and tell it like it is. At this point, Bronny's not ready for the league. I don't care about him killing in the G League. They're giving him the ball and featuring him. The G League, everyone knows, do not play defense. You're getting 17 shots. You're averaging 20 on 17 shots. That's not good. That's not good, though. So you're shooting 43%. And I'm not knocking Youngin, but he's just not ready right now. And the thing is, the reality is what people are saying, if he wasn't Bronny James, he wasn't LeBron James Jr., he'd have got cut by now. Matter of fact, he would have never got drafted. So you put this on, it's your fault all this is on him, man. So help him deal with it instead of trying to control it. Because what you can't do, you control your bubble. I get it. Your world, you work for LeBron James, yeah, he's in control. But that don't impact the rest of the world where we live in. It just don't. So you gotta chill with all that. He has to, or it's gonna get nasty. See, people trying to avoid being nasty because they sympathize for the kid. But if you keep taking positions like this, it's gonna get nasty. It ain't gonna be nothing you can do, and then it's gonna cause a rift. We've seen it before, man. Hopefully, you don't get to that point. But yeah, this is just week overall.
Yeah, man, it's completely unnecessary. And just keep hoping Bronny stays at it, keep working at it.
Yeah, because he worked, man. I can tell he be last one, literally, man. So I'm rooting for him. I don't want him to fail because he's in a position now. But cut the bull, LeBron. Come on, man.
Sometimes you just gotta let stuff happen organically. Go figure. We appreciate y'all this week. We'll get at y'all later. Wizards Outlook people. We see y'all 15 minutes, something like that. So y'all have a good week. See y'all soon.